Another very important and fundamental concept of object-oriented programming, or you can say an application of reusability, is inheritance. So basically, inheritance, what do we mean by inheritance? Inheritance means we can have something or anything that is coming from our parents, right? That is coming from our parent class. For example, someone can say maybe he's tall because his parents were tall. Um, that inherit definition of inheritance in legal terms, it goes towards the property, um, you know, uh, property shift as well, the wealth shift as well, and so on and so forth. So in short, anything that parents have, and if that particular thing can be used by child as well, that is called inheritance. Same concept is here in object-oriented programming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new class, okay? And then I'll inherit another class from that existing class. So first of all, let's call it as inheritance. I don't know if spelling are correct or not. Inheritance. I don't know. So whatever it is. So let's say we have a class that is called not student. Let's call it human class. Okay. That is the base class. So the class that is at the top is either called base class or it is called parent class, right? So the goal is I want to inherit student class from the human class. Why? Because student is also a human. So for example, a human has name, right? A human has age. So a student also has name and age along with a few other attributes. And by the way, here I'm going to call it as human constructor is working, right? So here my human class is ready. I'd also write its details function as well, like this. Let me just copy this and quickly paste it over here. After setting indentation, it should look fine. Cool. So I have name and age variable in human and print details in human. Let me create the human variable. Let's say h1 human is going to be, let's call it human. Its name is human, its age is 18. And if I say h1 dot print details, running it, so it will say, I don't know what is human, woman, so spelling mistake is there. Correcting it, so here we go. We have a human available over here. Cool, perfect. Now, what do I want is, I want to create another class, right? So that another class is going to be the student class. So instead of human, I'm going to call it student, right? Student class, in the constructor, it will receive, obviously a student has name, student has an age, and student will have marks as well. So here I'll say self dot marks is equals to marks. I'm not making it private for now, just for the sake of clarity. And then we will have a print details function, right? So I'll say, just to make it different from this function, I'll name it as define print student details. Okay. So here we will have self, and here there's something interesting which is going to go on. So I'll say self dot, oh, by the way, I should write it like print f, marks are self dot marks, right? But I should also print name and age as well. Now, here comes the game. This thing is also available over here in the human as well. Name and age. I can remove it from here. Okay, fine. If I'm removing it from here, then how should how can I access the name and age variables over there? Sorry, name and age attributes over there, because they are in another class. So I will inherit this human class inside the student class. So I'll say human. Now, after doing this, I can access all these variables, but I need to do one more thing. I need to call the constructor of the human class over here. So I'll say super. So super means since it is a super class. So I'll say super dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore here. I'll pass name and age to the constructor of the superclass. What is the superclass? Human is the superclass. So human's constructor will be called, it needs two variables, which are name and age. So name and age will be instantiated over there. Okay. So here I'll say super, which means my parent class dot, or rather than doing this, I can simply say self dot print details. Well, print details function is not there in the student class, but since I'm inheriting the human class, so I can use its functions as well, right? There will be more clarity with the passage of time. So let me run this code first, and then we'll move on. By the way, this is not human. This is student, student. Yeah, student constructor is working. Okay. Now here, let me comment this both of lines out, and here let me create S1, which is going to be student one. So S1 is equals to student, and student's name is going to be again Zia. I'm just going to promote myself over here. So 18 is going to be the age, and 90 are going to be the marks. Okay. Now, what will happen actually? First of all, let's run only this thing. So if I run this, it says student constructor is working, and then it also says human constructor is working. Hey, I'm just creating a student class over here. These two lines are commented out, so they are not executing. But just for the sake of your, you can say satisfaction, let me remove these lines and now run it again. Still, it says student constructor is working, and then human constructor is also working. Let's have a look. I'm just creating a student object, which means only this constructor should work. So Zia is going to go to the name, 18 is going to go to the age, and marks will have 90 over here. So it is printing out student constructor is working, which makes sense. But then if you have a look over here, it is also calling the constructor of the superclass, which is the base class or the parent class, which is the human class. So this constructor is also working now, and name and age are being passed to this constructor. And since this constructor is also being executed now, so this line is also being printed. So that is why you see student constructor is working and human constructor is working. Hence, whenever you're working with inheritance, the constructor of the parent class will also be executed, because obviously I have to have name and age attributes initialized, right? So in order to do that, this constructor should also work. That is one thing. Second thing, I'll say S1 dot print details. Okay, print details. Now, you might be wondering that S1 is a student object, and inside the student class, we have print student details function, not print details function. Print details function is there in the parent class, but since inheritance works, so this parent class function is inherited over here in the child class. Just like the parents can inherit the property of the, children can inherit property of the parents. So this children class is inheriting the property of the base class, or you can say the parent class. So if I say print details, I run it, it can print details. So it is printing name is Zia, age is 18, but it is not printing marks. Why? Because that is not available over here. If we want to print marks as well, then we'll call this function. So if I'll call this function, so it is saying name is Zia, age is 18, marks are 90, right? Now, when I'm calling print student details function, inside this function, I'm again calling the function of the parent class, human class. So name and age is printing from here, and then marks are being printed from here, right? So this is how we can make use of an existing class. So if we are working in some complex code and we have multiple classes, so in order to make a code reusable, we create some base classes, some parent classes, right? And this inheritance there can be a multi-level inheritance as well. For example, student is inheriting human class. There can be another class that might be inheriting student class. So, in that case, that another class will be calling constructor of student class, and student class is calling constructor of human class. So this hierarchy can go on and on and on. So yeah. Now, what I want you guys to do, I want you guys to create another class that should be called employee class. Okay. And in employee class, instead of marks, there should be salary. And rest of the thing should be exactly same. Okay. And that employee class should also be inherited from the human class, because employees also have name, employees also have age. So employees should also have salary as well, just like students have marks over here. So I hope the concept of inheritance is clear. It will be more clearer when we'll talk about polymorphism as well.